Hi everyone, and welcome to Words with DatOneLady.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the podcast. And like you already know, we've been doing a lot about the graduate series. And today I have an amazing colleague with me, and I would like her to introduce herself. I guess, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Stephanie, and I'm an occupational therapist by training. And I've started my PhD 2 years ago now. So I'm lucky enough to have my classmate. And yeah, she invited me here to talk a little bit about the process so far from my perspective. And I'm also the PhD representative in the for GRSS, so that's the Graduate Rehabilitation Student Society.
Yeah,
So I can maybe provide a little bit of perspective from the students in
definitely.
general.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a particularly challenging year with a lot to adapt to. So it'll be nice to chat about it a little bit.
Awesome. It's nice to have you here, Stephanie. And like she already said, we're classmates. We're running through the whole PhD program together, the almighty PhD. Oh my God. So do you want to tell us so far, Stephanie? Like so far, so good as it relates to starting your program, like you said, 2 years down the line. What has your experience been so far?
Yeah, so well, the first year was, in person, I guess, kind of a typical trajectory of coursework. So being physically on campus at McGill, meeting my classmates, and kind of going back to school. So that was a bit of an interesting process for me since I'd been working in the hospital setting for about 6 years at that point. So coming back to being in the classroom was different but exciting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then there was this transition just over a year ago now to having to function online, and
Oh God,
so not
yeah.
only the coursework kind of format that changed, but also the not having access to my lab anymore and doing
Yeah.
supervisory meetings online and like everything online basically. Um, yeah, so that was, I would say, a kind of a difficult transition, and I'm still trying to figure out ways to manage that as best I can.
Yeah. So, guys, I don't know if I already prefaced this earlier. Today, myself and Stephanie are just going to be going through the motions of surviving the PhD program. It's something that people don't really talk about. People talk about the entrance, people talk about the exit. The part which is very important, which is the part in between these two extremes, is what nobody talks about. And we're just going to go through it. Like she already shared her experience so far has been a 2 year, as in been in the program for 2 years now. We're just going to be taking emotions and like how do you navigate surviving as a PhD student in this world of PhD in. So far in the program so far, do you have one or two times when you've had a very tough time in the program and you want to like share with us?
That's a good question. I guess I would say, well, just first of all, I think doing a PhD is difficult in any circumstance, but
Exactly.
with with the additional challenges of being isolated from our classmates, our colleagues, our
Yeah.
supervisors, the lab mates, and so on. I think that adds an additional layer. And I found so I recently completed my comprehensive exam a few months ago. So that's in our program, it's a 2 months um,
Hiatus in
writing
control.
process, basically, where you're just reading and writing and proving that you have the level to kind of synthesize
Stuff.
research that's published and have your own sort of
Economic.
reflections on it, and that you're able to write at a decent level. So I completed this process on January 1st, actually, but I found that those 2 months were especially um, challenging because I really felt the isolation, just alone with me and my
Yeah.
computer and thinking and having all these questions, and for that process you're not really supposed to have kind of outside support. The
Mhm.
idea is that it's a test to see your own kind of analytic capabilities. So I found that extremely challenging just to stay focused and stay positive, and not being too hard on myself too, because you have to give yourself time to breathe and to, exercise and do these other things as well for for your own well-being. But then of course
Exactly.
there's all these restrictions, and you're not allowed to see friends, and so it was hard to find ways to, I guess, take care of myself, and yeah.
So in all of that period when you were going through the exam, what was the one thing that you did that helped you through? Because you just told us how it was difficult and the challenges with, like, what was the one thing that helped you through it, the process?
I don't think there was one thing, but I think more just the mindset of being kind to myself and being flexible. So
Yeah.
setting a routine as much as possible. And for example, I tried to do a lot of yoga, breathing, moving, walking outside if the weather allowed. But if for whatever reason one day didn't go according to plan, if I had set, okay, I'm going to do 5 hours today of reading, but then finally I didn't, well, then that's okay too. And, then move on and go really day by day. So have a general structure, but be very flexible within that structure. And I found that worked okay, because the amount of pressure that we can put on ourselves is quite
Yes.
incredible.
That's so true. We put so much pressure on ourselves. And I keep asking myself this question, like, why do we do that? Where does this pressure come from? Like, is there a rule book that says because you're doing a PhD, pressure belongs to you? Like, why do we do that to ourselves?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good question.
I
I
don't
would
know. Like, I think about something like, is there a reason? Is that why we do that? Does anyone say, no, you have to like go through this motion to feel the way you feel, or you have to be this way to be able to get through the process? Does anybody say that?
I don't know. I guess I would suspect, at least in part, it has to do with, I would assume that most PhD students are very high achievers, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason why we got to this place in the first place. We're strong and we push ourselves. We're very motivated, hardworking, which is good, but there
Yeah.
has to be a balance as well, right? To be able to step back and to remind ourselves, it's not like the end of the world, or it's not, if we don't complete what we had set on doing by this Friday, like things will be okay. And
Mhm.
right.
That's so true. Remembering that no matter what happens, like, as long as you're setting time for yourself and you're getting things done a day at a time and you're going through the motions a day at a time, you're going to get it done. And that it's okay if you slack. It's okay if you miss something. It's okay that you make a mistake. And it's all part of the learning process. But I think we fail to admit that to ourselves and realize that when it comes to going through the level of education that we're going through right now, it has to do with, it's a process. And this whole process comes with mistakes, learning, like picking yourself up and doing things better. Because if you knew it all, there was no process, there was no point going through like the PhD program or going through this learning process. It's because we're here to learn and get better at what we're doing, is why we're actually doing this in the first place. That being said, I don't know if there is because we're talking about like tips for surviving. And I remember I asked one of my guest speakers recently, like, do we really survive all of this, or we actually just go through it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think those are interesting questions that you're bringing up, and I also agree that the process itself is what's really key. And I mean, the end goal of getting the PhD, that's nice too, but really it's about the kind of the wandering in between, and the learning. And I think if we're able to kind of approach the challenges and the ups and downs with
Yeah.
kind of curiosity and patience, and learning about ourselves as researchers, as clinicians, as people, then I think that'll be a much better experience at the end of the day. So yeah, I think the survival mindset is really putting ourselves in this, like, yeah, again, the idea of this pressure of like succeeding and getting to the finish line, but it's not taking into account the journey and all the learning opportunities along the way,
Exactly.
and just, yeah, learning about ourselves, as how we deal with stress, and how we deal with unexpected circumstances, because yes, during the pandemic there's a lot of that, but I think
Mhm.
in life as well, that's how it is, right? And we have to be able to adapt.
Exactly. That's so true. I would like to ask, I know the last 1 year has been tough. did you really like, how did you adjust to the last 1 year? Was it hard? Was it easy, or was it difficult? Was it like, I want to know, like, we're not expecting it to go as long as it's gone so far. We're thinking, oh, in the next 2 months we'll all be back to like a regular schedule. How did you adjust to all of that? And for someone who was doing like research in the lab and all of that, and you had to like move all of that into like the front of a computer, how did you adjust to that lifestyle?
It's been tough, I have to say, and doing a lot of meetings on, Zoom or Teams or things like that. I'm sure you've heard the term of Zoom fatigue, and
Oh,
I
yes.
definitely I feel that as well. Like it's very tough to stay focused and present online. Um, so I mean, I've tried to do my, I guess, kind of social connecting activities, or my exercise and stuff, like in outside or like not on the screen, because it's at a certain point I just can't handle 12 hours a day on the computer. But
I
then
agree.
again, there's all the restrictions of, you can't see friends, or the gyms are closed, or so then okay, maybe I will do the YouTube yoga class or whatever. But so yeah, trying to find a balance between all of that, and
Yeah,
again, really, as much as possible, I focus like maybe week by week or even just day by day, and try to really listen to how I'm feeling, and do what I can, but be okay with with what I'm able to do,
I know.
because otherwise I just get too overwhelmed.
I know, right? The overwhelming thing about all of it is the fact that at this point we've all actually adjusted, and we've become, it has become a part of us. It has become a part of our everyday, that this is what we're doing now. We don't even know when we're going back to the real world, like the way things were before, that we can go to the lab or go back to school and be in midst of people as often as we were before, pre-pandemic. So I don't know if there is any other, like, I don't know how many people you've spoken to in the course of the past 1 year, other students, and how do you think other students are coping, other PhD students, how do you think they're coping with all of this in the online world and surviving all of this process of schooling and going through, and because nothing stopped, comprehensive exams are still going on, protocol presentations are still happening, courseworks are still on, nothing stopped for us. I don't know if you've heard from other people how people are coping with all of this and how it resonates with you.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think everyone has their own kind of strategies and ways of going about it, but definitely the resonating message has been that it's been hard. And like you said, nothing has stopped. If anything, things have maybe gone even faster. Like, okay, you have more time, you're at home now, so you can do this, you can do this, you can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough, and I think there's definitely a feeling of isolation and being far from classmates and lab mates and so on. And though even though we've tried to have some online gatherings and things like that, like the attendance hasn't been really great. And I think again, people are just tired of virtual events and things like that, and it's not the same as meeting in person.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely missing this kind of social support aspect. And it's been really hard, and I don't know if others have, maybe if different students live with a partner or family members or something, they get like a
Yeah.
minimal
Support system.
interaction from that, or maybe roommates or so on. But for the most part, it's very limited for most. So I think it's definitely a challenge, and hopefully now with the nicer weather, people can get outside a little bit more, or maybe do picnics with friends or neighbors at a distance or
Yeah.
whatever, things like that. But yeah, I think the winter has been long, and now it's yeah, I think we're still in it for a little while. So
Yeah.
the endurance, I feel like there's this kind of long-standing fatigue of like, okay,
Anytime
let's
now,
just
can we
keep
get out
going,
of this? Exactly. Like, I want to get out of this spot. Like, for me, recently in the last, let's say, 1 month, I was coping for the whole year. I was doing my best to, pull through, truck along. And for like the last 1 month, I got to a space of I couldn't get nothing done. And when I mean month, I mean from March till now. I couldn't get anything done. I was being very not productive. Things were not working out the way I wanted to. So I decided to take myself out of my comfort zone and go to like the library, schedule like 3 to 4 hours in the library to get work done and come back home, because it was beginning to seem like I can't do anything. I can't, like my space was, I was tired of my space. I was tired of my environment. And I was just like, what do I do? How do I get back to, being productive? And one thing that worked for me was taking myself out of my space to like a
Mhm.
different space to get work done. And if anybody's listening and is having this, school fatigue from the fact that they've been indoor for the longest time and we've been doing the same thing almost every day, take yourself out of your position. Take, like Stephanie already said, trying to remind yourself that even if it's not working, you're getting something done. Even if it seems like, oh, I didn't get anything done today, it's okay. It's okay not to get something done that day. The work will wait and you will get it done eventually. Take yourself out of your space and go somewhere else and get work done. I think that also works a lot. I don't know how you, when you get unmotivated, I don't know how you get work done, but that would be nice to hear from you. But for me, taking myself out of my space is one of the biggest things for me, and how it worked for me, because it's an unprecedented time that we find ourselves in, and going through the PhD program at this time is like, wow, why did I decide to do this to myself? But like you said, everybody now feels like you have so much time on your hands and you can get so much done. But do we really have so much time? No, we don't. We just
Mhm.
have more work, and it's just like feel too much to be done. But like, I don't know, when you get unmotivated, what do you do, to motivate yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good thought. And I just to come back to what you were saying previously, I really agree about changing the environment. And this applies also for people working from home. You're working in your little space and living there as well, right? So at some point, it's great to be able to disconnect and change the physical environment. That can
Yeah.
just bring a breath of fresh air. So yeah, if you're able to rent a library room or something like that, that's awesome. Um, yeah, and I think, like you said, finding different little tricks to motivate yourself or reward yourself in some way. So whether it be, a nice snack or dessert or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything big. And actually, celebrating like small little things, I think that's really
Yes,
important. Um,
exactly.
and yeah, just tuning into to what makes you happy. And so for myself, I really I'm a big gardener and plant fan, so I've been taking care of my indoor jungle. And when I completed my big presentation last week for my I presented my protocol, so I rewarded myself with a little fern afterwards. So
Oh, that's so
just
beautiful.
something like that. But I think that it just brings a tiny little ray of sunshine, that can kind of keep you going.
Yes, that's very correct, guys. Like, if you have a reward system for yourself, kudos, you're doing amazing, because that works. It's like something to look forward to when you're done. So like, once I finish this exam, I know that I'll go get a bowl of ice cream for myself, or when I finish my presentation, I'll go ahead and buy myself this. Like, it's something to look forward to, and it'll help you. The times that we're in is so difficult. We don't even, like I said, we don't know when we'll be out of this. We don't know when things will get back to air quotes normal, because right now I don't even know what normal is anymore, but we don't know when all that will happen. But for now, in the times that we live in, walk through the process, enjoy what you're doing, try to find the why for what you're doing, try to call yourself back to like, there's a reason why I started this in the first place. Call yourself back to that. Reward yourself. Give yourself a reward system if you can. Take yourself out of your space if you can do so also. And yeah, we hope that you are able to like find, one or two tips that will work for you. I know if you have any other thing to add to what we've said again, Stephanie, on like ways to survive, because survival is very, very relative to the person that we're talking to. Some people survival might be based off of getting work done. Some people will be survival based on life in general as it relates to PhD. But like, do you have any other tips for people who are listening right now?
Well, I think just what you said a moment ago, it really resonates with me, and I agree 100%. Just in terms of reminding ourselves, like what the purpose of all this is and why are we doing this. And I think for the most part, it's a choice that we've made, right? Like there's something
Mm-hmm.
that we're passionate about or interested in or wanting to contribute in some way. So reminding ourselves of kind of the underlying purpose of all of this too, right? And um, I think that helps a lot to keep us going and to um, yeah, just again being patient and kind with ourselves, and knowing our our direction, and also accepting that the path is going to be wandering in different ways, but as long
Yeah,
as we're heading in the right general direction, then that's fine, and we'll discover new things along the path that we weren't expecting, for sure. But
exactly.
that's cool too.
That's so true. You mentioned earlier about GRSS, and I know it's a Graduate Rehabilitation Student Society, and I wanted to ask that how much of impact do they actually put on students when it comes to surviving their PhD program, or well, their graduate school program in general?
Mhm. So, I mean, the GRSS does organize some more academic events, but they also have a kind of social mandate as well. So that's been a challenge to try to think about how we can offer um, activities for the students that are relevant in the times, and useful, beneficial, interesting, fun as well, right?
Yeah.
In our last meetings, we've been talking a lot about fun and what can we do to bring people together and chat and connect, and um, so that's it. It's been a bit of a challenge, and we have tried a few different things that have um, been attended by some, but I don't think we're reaching most of the student population from our group. So we're still trying, but I think that, I mean, definitely we're available and wanting student feedback. So typically we do a survey every year to know kind of more formally what students need and want, but also just on a regular basis, we're open to being contacted by the students from the program to hear any suggestions or ideas,
Yeah.
or just to reach out and chat to a peer. Um, we have started a mentorship program last fall. So we paired those that were interested in either being a mentor or having a mentor,
Oh, nice.
to again just have someone to connect to, and discuss, yes, the more academic things, but also just again how to get through the program, or how
Yeah.
to um, yeah, like it's just, I think it's very powerful to be able to share experiences and concerns and fears and anxieties with someone that
Yeah.
really understands and is in the same boat, or a parallel boat, I guess I can say. Um,
Exactly. No, that's very profound because I remember that when we're talking about people to support systems, and which is a very huge tip for surviving grad school, PhD programs, whatever you're doing, is like the school, the university, your department does have a society for grad students, that has an association for grad students that would actually be of help to you. So wherever you are, whatever university, whatever school, try as much as possible to connect with them, because they are like Stephanie already listed all the things and agendas that they have for the students. And she's talking about students in McGill University and the School of Physical and Occupational Therapy. And that's what she's referring to in all of this. But I know other universities have this kind of arms that actually come together to help students with pulling through their program. And like the mentorship program you talked about, I'm sure a couple of universities do that as well, and it'd be a great way to segue into like grad school programs, tips for surviving, and you'll be speaking with someone who is at a year above, or who's like 2 years above, depending on what program that you're doing. And those kind of information from them comes in so handy when at different times of your program. So it's very, very important. Connect with the societies, connect with the associations, and yeah, you get great tips that would be of help. And that being said, I don't want to like strain this conversation any far longer. And one thing that I would like to add to it is that grad school is hard enough. Grad school is already difficult as it is. I don't know at what point did you decide that this is hard, but I'm going to do it.
um, well, I think that was an initial question, right? When you decide to take the first plunge, but then
Yeah,
I I think that question has come up maybe twice again so far in the process, and I'm guessing that it'll come up again a few more times.
I know.
But that's just part of the journey. I mean, it's a kind of, I don't know, it's a life project. It's not just a little side thing. Like, it's really a big time and energy investment that we've
Mhm.
chosen to go through with, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think it's something to again remind ourselves why we wanted to do this in the first place,
Yeah.
and be proud of the work that we've put in so far. Be proud of all our accomplishments, our hard work, and as much as possible look forward to the future with excitement,
Yes,
and what it's going
exactly.
to bring, even though it's scary, it's uncertain, and of course the time and energy will be huge as well. But I think if we're able to look at it in a kind of positive light, and yeah, just being excited about where it's going to bring us, I
Yeah.
think that's a good way of looking at it.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us and sharing your insightful points with us. And like guys, if you've not gotten anything from this today, I'm sure you've gotten the 3 points already listed out. Remember your why. Remember why you're doing this. If it gets too difficult, take yourself out of your space. No matter how much time it seems like you're taking, enjoy the fact that you're going through this process. It's okay if it takes a little while. It's okay if it feels like you're not getting anything done. But at the end of the day, it would be all worthwhile. Anyway, thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us. We hope you had a nice time chatting with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's
Thank
a
you so
pleasure
much.
chatting with you again.
Yes, it is.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it so much, don't forget to share. Let your friends know. Let your sister, brothers, uncle, mothers, fathers know about it. It can help anybody. This can help anybody at all. So go ahead and share it. If you also have a question, comments, things you like me to do more, or anything you like me to hear, go ahead and leave me an email. Check the description and you will find my email there, and I would love to hear back from you guys. Thank you so much once again, and until next time, keep living, keep loving, and ensure that you're living your truth. And until the next podcast, have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.